Hello friends, this is Scott, and it's finally time to plant some summer vegetables at the school garden. So I grabbed some peppers, a couple eggplant, and 30 tomatoes, and that's what we're going to plant on the first day that I worked here. But as you see here, this is the condition of the garden. I've done a little bit of weeding, but as you see, there's a lot more weeding to do. So I'm kind of design building as I go here, trying to figure out where I'm going to put everything. Now the sprinklers run around the outside of the perimeter of the garden, so I've got to have the taller things in the middle so they don't block the water. But looking at the onions, I still got to come back, and I weeded them last week and didn't do a great job because I can't dig into there to get those weeds out. But I'm thinking I'm going to put tomatoes here in this bed and then the bed right next to it to the left. And then I'm figuring out what I'm going to put in all this area that I still need to weed. I should be calling it design planting rather than design building. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do here. But first step was I'm going to plant 15 of the tomatoes in that bed. And so the first thing is, I did a video on this, is anytime you're using the backdeeding method with wood chips, you got to pull the wood chips back. You never want to mix them into the soil because they'll bind the nitrogen and the plants will suffer for that. I brought in a couple of bags of biograss topsoil, so I'm going to use that. And I just want to show you the color variation here. Again, I pulled the wood chips back. I'm throwing the compost or the topsoil down on top, raking it fairly level. And then what I'll do is I plant the tomatoes. I'll just dig in and mix that new topsoil with the old soil. And then I'll plant the tomatoes into that mix. So that's how you add bulk material when you're doing the backdeeding method. So here's a standard tomato. I pulled all the bottom leaves off because I want to plant it fairly deeply, and I loosened the root structure because they tend to get root bound in the little containers. And as I dug the holes, I kind of mixed the soil together, the new and the old, and just simple as putting the tomato right in the ground and then just pulling the soil back and covering it up. And then I'll water it in once I'm done with that. So here I have those 15 tomato plants, 3 rows of 5, all planted and watered in. And then what I've got to do next is I've got to put the cages on there. Now here's a little tip: when you have, the school had all these cheapo little tomato cages that are really hard to push into the ground. My little tip is just to bend those long skinny ends in and just push them into the ground. You can see on the right, I didn't do that. I just tried to shove them in, and that's what they standard look like. I'll have to stake those up. But then on the others, I got smarter, and I did bend them and just wiggle them into the ground, and those cheapo tomato cages should hold. Then I pulled the wood chips back that I had on the bed originally and mulched it all in and then watered them in again. So those 15 tomato plants are done, and then off to more planting. So the second day I got to the garden and I found some more sweet potatoes in my garage. And so I brought those over here just to extend the potato beds out. So simple as throwing them on the ground, space them out, and then add some more of the bioswale, topsoil. And then I'll water all that in. So we'll have more potatoes. And the original plantings look pretty good. And I've got some volunteers on the ends there, it looks like, from last year's crop. I did have a few spare potatoes planted there, so I'll mulch those up also. Now here's some sweet potatoes that I've never planted at the school garden before, but these are ones that I grew at my home. So I'm going to put in the sweet potatoes right in this bed. Again, I'm just kind of design planting as I go. And I'd weeded all this out the last time I was here. And so simple process is just, I have 11 total plants. So I just grabbed a bucket of the bioswale, topsoil, and I just put out 11 piles. I'll be planting 1 slip per pile, and I'll also be adding some more topsoil between them because as sweet potatoes grow, they branch out and they touch the ground and they reroot and they just produce sweet potatoes everywhere they touch the ground. So this whole bed should be full of sweet potatoes, and that should be something different for the school community. Here's where we're going to plant the second batch of 15 tomato plants for a total of 30. And this is a little bit smaller of a bed, so I think there's going to be a couple extras I'll have to put somewhere on the side. But same process. I got some of the buckets, and I filled them up with the biograss soil and spread that out and raked it out a little bit. Then as I planted the tomatoes, I'm going to mix that soil in together with the new and the old. And I did have 3 extras, and these are more of the cherry tomato varieties, so I'm going to put them to the side. And there's 1 cherry right there on the corner too. So I have 4 of the smaller tomatoes. The kids like to come out and eat out of the garden, and it's always fun to have some tomatoes for them. Now I'll just show you the health of the soil. If you have worms, you got healthy soil. So before adding the bioswale, I just took a shovel and dug a little hole, and plenty of earthworms already. So we have good soil here, and the fertility should be pretty good. So I got them all planted, and I got that topsoil mixed in with the subsoil. Looking pretty good, and I'm going to make it look just like this when I put the tomato cages on. The problem I have is I don't have enough wood chips, and I've got a few that I pulled out, as you see on the pathways, but once I was able to put the cages on, and I had enough of the cages. I had 29 cages, unfortunately, so I have to go get one more. So I was close, but didn't quite have enough cages. But as you see, that's the bent wire that I did, my little trick, and push that bottom layer right to the soil level, and those should hold up without needing to be staked. So looking pretty good, and just going to water these in, and then I'll push the wood chips back as much as I can. But I definitely don't have enough wood chips. So once I have the whole garden planted, that will be my main priority, is to finding a truckload of wood chips somewhere, or several truckloads, and get everything mulched in so that I don't have to fight weeds all summer. And that's my goal, because the longer I procrastinate on that, it'll look like that again. So after I got the second batch of tomatoes planted, I looked at this whole mess of weeds, and this is where I need to plant the next batch of crops, which is going to be zucchinis, cucumbers, and then I'm going to put corn on this end, I believe. So there'll be several different varieties of those types of plants. So I went through, and I spent the rest of the second day going through here and just weeding away. So I'm ready to plant more stuff, and I'll be planting a lot of stuff from seed, because we have a lot of seeds that are all getting older, and we need to use them up. And so I could go to the nursery and buy more plants, but I tend to find we still have plenty of season left, and plants that you grow from seed tend to have more significant root structures and tend to survive a little better. I still got to get back over here and weed the onions again, because onions don't like weed pressure, so I've got to do that. But again, wood chips is going to be a necessity. And right there, I'm going to plant beets, carrots, and beans, I think right there. And then I've got to get in here, and I've got to weed these strawberries. Now, they're flowering, and they're going to be producing soon, so I don't want to disturb them too much, but I'll be getting in there and cleaning that up. And then this whole long side, I decided I've got a whole bunch of seeds of, cantaloupes and pumpkins and watermelons and different vining squash crops. So I'm just going to take buckets of the biossoil. I'm going to pull the wood chips aside, drop a bucket there, and plant plants. And I'll have to add a little fertility probably to those, because they're pretty heavy feeders. But I'm just going to use this whole side just to have it, all this vining, spreading crop, and make this look really pretty here. So from there, when I first got there to start planting the tomatoes, as you see, things went pretty well. Got a lot more planting to do. The weather has either been rainy or sunny, and so it's been pretty good. So, but it seems like every day I want to get out and work, it's raining. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm looking forward to getting this garden planted, mulched in, and then I can get off to other projects and just come back for occasional weeding and just making sure that everything's watered good. So, well, the school garden's looking better. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your support. And if you like this channel, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you.